What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tones Overthinks It, the show where I think too much to make up for the people who don't think at all. Today we'll be watching a petulant narcissistic man-child who only wants things his way.
Alright, back at it again. City of New London, Connecticut, New London PD with Mr. Rogue Nation. Records, hours of operation. In.
Congratulations, you could read. You're already smarter than 80% of the world's frauditors.
Call me mistaken.
This area is closed to the public.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with that thing that's been going on for the past year or so. Starts with Pan, ends with Demic.
Oh, we got a bird. She saw us. She popped up, got up, took off. Lady from Records is running for help. There's people with cameras. Oh my god.
Well, it may not be the camera. Maybe it's the fact you look like Lex Luthor's meth head cousin.
Can we get buzzed in?
Do you have any records of request?
No. I buzzed him.
I'd be careful there, Rogue Nation. After all, you and doors don't mix very well. Don't worry if you didn't get that joke. I'll explain next week.
See if we can't take a look at the lobby and get an explanation as to why this area is closed to the public.
You know, for being obsessed of having to look at everything, I'm surprised you didn't notice this. And wouldn't you know it, not only does it offer an explanation as to why the lobby is closed, but it also provides instructions on how to make a records request.
There's no reason for it to be closed right now unless they had an incident here. This is not a crime scene, is it?
The blind leading the blind, ladies and gentlemen.
I pushed the button, I got nothing. Oh, there you go, call. Hello. It's not every day you see a payphone.
How may I help you?
Yes, I was wondering if I could request some records.
Hang on 1 second.
Oh god, the Connecticut soundtrack.
Hey, don't you be disrespecting Opus number 1. That is classy hold music right there.
Records.
Yes, I was wondering if I could request some.
Well, what do you want to request?
I want to request a police report, and I want to request body cam footage if the New London police have body cam footage.
Okay, I might be nitpicking a little bit on this one, but if you're making a records request, you don't actually have to physically go down to the police station and then see the records department. We live in a day and age of technology where all of these requests can be made online. Here, I'll show you. And I didn't even need to travel all the way to Connecticut with a camera phone and a poor attitude. Almost makes me wonder if First Amendment auditors don't actually know how the records request process works, because, go with me on this, they are there to roam the hallways and film the lobbies for their YouTube channels, and not to actually make a legitimate records request.
Okay, I can bring you the form. Just a minute.
Wow. I can bring you the form. Yeah, okay. And we'll ask her, how long would it take to, They might even have a press book, something that gives us like the last 12 arrests, something in town. Then we could say, yeah, we'd like to check this case out.
I'm sure the victims or defendants in those cases would appreciate knowing that a couple of giggling kids are poking their noses into their personal business.
What was that?
It's on the police radio.
Did I just put you on the phone?
Yes, about public records.
There you go. Just fill this out. Be sure and put a phone number there. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
Okay, can I use an email address instead of a phone number?
Sure.
Okay.
So despite the fact they could have just sent an email saving them a trip, the New London Police Department was able to accommodate them and provided them the means to make a records request. And everybody went home happily ever after. Oh, who am I kidding? It's Tyrant Slayer Studios. Of course he has to suddenly demand something unreasonable and then accuse them of being in violation of some law because they won't accommodate him.
Thank
Would
you,
we
man.
be able to inspect records right now if we had a specific case we were looking to just look into? Would we be able to inspect records here right now? Do you guys have a place for
No,
for people to inspect records?
And there he is now about to change the rules. Now it's not about making a records request, which they are able to do for him. Now suddenly he wants to inspect records.
Inspect records.
Okay. Also, do you know why the lobby's still closed? The
Because
governor.
we were told to, I only work here, sir. I don't.
Oh, I was just asking if you knew, because I know the governor
No, I
lifted the
don't ask
mandate.
him.
Not sure when this video was filmed, but given where we are currently with the thing going on, I seriously doubt that. Also, again,
I don't ask any questions. Okay, I just come to work.
So do we. We're journalists, so do we. We know the deal.
there is no one who actually thinks that you are legitimate journalists. Get over yourselves.
Alright, guys, so we're going to make a request here.
Real riveting footage there, Rogue Nation. But then again, no one's expecting you to stumble and fall upon decent content.
Let me go check that out. Oh, hi. How are you? Good, thank you. Yes, we're just doing a records request. I thought I heard a police radio, so I came out to check out what was going on.
Take a break so that we can go back in there.
Atta girl.
What's the matter, Tim? Were you disappointed it wasn't a police officer you can harass and call a tyrant?
Hey, what department do you work in here?
I'm a dispatcher.
You're a dispatcher. Perhaps you might have some insight.
I'm not allowed to, it's not really my role to talk to people about insights or things like that. I don't have.
Well, just one of the roles of the department right across the way from you. I would assume records is right next to dispatch or something. I just had a question. To inspect records, typically, we go all around the country and do what we do. Typically, there's a place for accommodations for people to come in and just, say they're interested in a specific case. Give you a case number, records, custodian of records will pull the information on that and give you a place to go ahead and just kind of inspect those records. I was really kind of perplexed with kind of being locked down in that little breezeway there.
Oh, they just haven't opened the lobby back up.
Yeah, why?
Why indeed? What possible reason could there be a limit on what public spaces are accessible and why there are signs that say you need a mask while indoors? If ignorance is bliss, you'd think you'd be a more delightful person.
Typically open to the public.
Yeah,
they
she
closed
told me-
it down
she told me-
when the pandemic started, and they just haven't unlocked it yet. I don't know when their plans are to do that. That's obviously.
Is there a
maybe
policy
part
on
of
that?
my-
Is there a
my
policy?
bakery.
Is there a police department policy or something regarding that?
I'm not aware of whether there was a policy written. I know it was back when it started. It was like an emergency measure. I don't know when they're going to open it back up.
Yeah, because she won't even let us inspect records right now. I'm just finding that very hard to
Were you
believe.
asking for a specific copy of a specific report, or?
Well, irregardless, I didn't even need to get into it that far with her. They're just not allowing me to inspect records right now, which is a violation of the law.
It's false. No way. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction.
Did you ask a specific? Because they.
We're putting a request in writing, which is fine enough, but we should be able to go in and inspect records, and it's just, I find it
That's
strange.
state law, but
Yeah, right. That's what I was just explaining to her.
And notice she seems visibly confused by what you're saying, almost as if perhaps this is actually not the place to inspect records, and so no one here would know what you're talking about.
So I find it odd that the police
supervisor.
No, we didn't pry so far. It just seems like it's going to be unhelpful.
Supervisor, he could probably.
Who would that be? Do you have his or her name?
Sergeant is Max Birch.
Max Birch. All right. Maybe we'll do that. I have an officer there. Maybe we can get a hold of Max Birch for us.
I can go back in and see what.
Yeah, please do that. Yeah, that would be fantastic. We're with the
Maybe
Activism News Network.
Wait in the vestibule where you were, and I can send him out there. If he's
How long do you think
available,
this will take?
or- I'm gonna go back in right now.
How long do you think he'll get out to me?
I'm not sitting at the computer, so I don't know where he is
All
right
right.
now.
All right.
So
Well,
maybe
can you follow up with me in like 3? Yeah. Can you follow up with me either way?
Well, that's why I was asking if you're going to be back in
Yeah.
the vestibule. Can you just wait right there? I can.
Sure.
hit
Okay.
you
Great.
back up on
Yes.
the
I'm
computer.
sorry.
Even when someone is actually willing to assist him, Mr. Riley again has the patience of a petulant 5-year-old.
We're going to find out what's going on with the records supervisor and find out why we can't inspect records right now. Or at least why his custodian told me that we can't. I'm also going to ask this gentleman, as I understand he's a sergeant, why the lobby is not open and who I would talk to regarding that.
Spoiler warning, they will give you the answer and then you will simply reject the reality of it and then substitute it with your own.
I would assume these folks might have a PIO, Public Information Officer. Somebody that handles press inquiry. Maybe we can get that person out here.
Absolutely. If any actual members of the press show up.
Hey, sir, are you there?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the person that you just spoke to outside. I'm sorry, hold on 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I just have to answer the radio for the fire department.
Okay. Take your time.
So Sergeant Birch had to go up to one of the courts with some records, but I can try to get you someone higher up than him if you'd like.
Yeah, whatever's most expeditious, as long as we're not kept here too long. We do have a long list of work to do today.
I'm sure you do, as all First Amendment auditors tend to be gainfully employed. Also, seriously, what the f*** is that?
So if we could be expeditious, that'd be great.
I'm trying my best for you. Hold on a second.
You're the greatest. Thank you so much.
Eventually.
Funny how that works. Hey, how are you? Good, thank you. Thanks for coming out and talking to me. I just have a couple questions. I inquired with the custodian of records inside. Yep. Under certain circumstances, perhaps I wanted to inspect some records here today, specific to a case or whatever is clever, right? I asked if you guys had maybe an area where I would be able to do that and just... No, we're not allowing that. We're not doing that sort of thing right now. I noticed the lobby is closed.
Yeah, the lobby's been closed since COVID.
Right, but the governor's lifted the mandate and all of these kind of restrictions and stuff. Now, is there a police policy? Is there like a department policy here that's pertinent to COVID or, this situation, why the lobby isn't accessible to the public right now and why it can't be accommodated to inspect records in compliance with the law?
Even if the lobby was open, you can't just walk into the records department. If you want to review any
Well, I
type of
wouldn't-
record,
right, no,
can I explain? If you want to review any type of record, here's the form. It's an FOI form. You
Sure.
can fill out.
Sure.
You can just. Would you like to take a copy?
Well, sure, yeah. No, yeah. I know how this works. I do these a lot.
And yet you don't seem to learn from those experiences, you don't become familiar with any of the proper procedures, and you don't seem to recognize what's been going on the last couple of years that's been causing these restrictions.
Yeah, you can't just walk into the records
But I can
department,
absolutely
though. There's
inspect
information in
records.
there, though.
No, I'm not. I didn't say walk into the records department. I'm saying if I wanted to look at a specific case and request the records, I could speak to the custodian, provide her a case number. She can go ahead and pull the police report, find out if there's body cam footage. I can request that body cam footage be put on a DVD or a thumb drive, perhaps, one way or another. I can get a copy
Okay,
of all of that
you
stuff.
could start with that form there.
I could start with that, yes, but to inspect records, there should be a place where, publicly accessible for me to be able to do that.
Yes, there is. And it's not here.
I don't see the purpose of locking down the lobby. That the health concern is no longer what it was. The governor has, dialed back on all of these restrictions, so I'm just asking for some explanations.
You're not owed an explanation. If you need access to records, there is a process in which you can request them. You were given a form you could have easily got off the internet and sent to them via email. The lobby being closed has had no effect on your ability to request to see records.
Right, now, is there someone higher than you that's got a policy per this department that explains why this lobby is still being, why the public's being denied access to our lobby?
Like the mayor that said it, or
I don't know who exactly said
Right.
that rule into play, but No,
If
no
you
one's
gotta trace
necessarily
it back.
denied access in the building. We just want to limit the access into the building.
Well, right, but that has to come from somebody. Like somebody
Okay,
has to make
I understand that, but
decision.
unfortunately, I'm the low guy on the totem pole. It doesn't come from me. I'll address your concerns with the administration.
Well,
Maybe
I
we
would
can
think
go
that
ahead-
the
maybe we can
department
go
should
ahead
be
and
hip.
open it up.
Well, right. I mean,
Like I
'cause
said, it's not my decision.
citizens are going to want to know. The public wants to know these things.
No, just you. Because you've got nothing better to do.
Why is my police department inaccessible to me?
Oh, here comes the selfish entitlement. My police department, my public servant.
It's not inaccessible. Like I said, you have a sergeant.
So,
in here
if I
helping
wanted
you
to
now.
inspect some records in here right now, you guys have a spot for me to do
That
that?
doesn't happen. We don't just let people come into the building and inspect records. It doesn't.
But
like
that's
I
what
said,
you're supposed to be
the
able
form
to
I
do.
just gave you, the Freedom of Information request form.
Yeah.
That's how you started.
Yeah, I know, but to
There's two aspects, if I may, Tim. There's two aspects. That right there is to get records.
Right.
But by state law, to inspect records, I'm allowed to come in any agency, ask for the record. If there's nothing that needs redacted on that record, then the record should be available immediately for me to inspect. Right then, right there.
to be in
That's
compliance with the law, yeah.
That's state law.
My esteemed colleague Mr. Blue Bacon does a better job at explaining this, but the fact of the matter is, what you two idiots are saying makes absolutely no sense. You cannot simply walk into any police station and request to inspect their records. If you want police records, you have to request them via FOIA, at which point they are required to look for those records, redact any privileged information, and then prepare a copy to send to you or have you come back and pick up. This can take days or even weeks, depending on what you're looking for. There is no guarantee of access to police records the day you come and make your request.
Yes.
Do you know what statute that is? What title that is?
No, it's under the Open Records Act.
Yeah,
FOIA
Freedom of
Act.
Information Act.
FOIA.
The Freedom of Information Act says you can just walk into any police department and access any document.
Almost anywhere across the country. I do this all over the country, yes.
Okay.
Not just police departments. We can inspect
City
records
Hall.
at City Hall. We can find out how much money
As long
the
as
city
it's- as
has.
long
We
as
can.
it's public
Okay.
information.
These two are so lacking in self-awareness right now. Rogue Nation just said as long as it's public information. The problem is, most of the case files in the police department are not yet public information. That's why you have to fill out a formal request for it, why information that's privileged has to be redacted, and only then would the information be appropriate for inspection. Public information is easy to access from places like City Hall or maybe the Department of Public Works, things like that, but police files are very different.
Is there any certain case you're looking for today?
No, we were just asking a question why we weren't allowed
Right.
to do that.
I
We-
just
we-
asked
we
your
weren't-
custodian perhaps if I wanted to inspect records
See, the-
today.
the problem-
Because I was confused as to why the lobby was closed. So I said, well, what if I wanted to inspect records today? Would I be able to come in and do that? She said, no. Well, that's in violation of Connecticut general statutes.
And which statute is that, sir?
Off the top of my head, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
But I do know that I'm 100% correct on that.
Well, that sentence basically sums up Tyrant Slayer Studios in a nutshell.
I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that I'm 100% correct on that.
Well, forgive me if I don't take your word for it. I mean, you are an absolute f***ing bag, so it is kind of difficult to trust you.
Look it up probably in like 5
2
minutes on my
seconds.
Google,
Yeah, 2 seconds.
Connecticut
I mean-
Open Records Law.
Right. Yeah, it's all there.
Inspection of records. Put that in the Google bar.
So, I mean,
Yes, let's do exactly that. Let's look up the law, shall we? Many thanks again to Blue Bacon, by the way, for not only directing me to this, but also better explaining to me how, in fact, that the very law that Mr. Tyrant Slayer Studios, Tim Riley, is accusing the New London Police Department of being in violation of, is in fact the very law that proves that he's completely 100% full of shit. Title 1, Chapter 14, Section 1 through 210 of the Connecticut General Statutes may say that each agency is required to have their public records in an accessible place, but Mr. I do know that I'm 100% correct on that, failed to read the other half of the f***ing sentence, which states that if an agency doesn't have such a place, then all records shall be kept at the clerk's office. There is nothing here that says that they are required by law to accommodate you. What is it with you First Amendment auditors and only being able to read half of something? Is that all you've got room in your brains for?
I feel like we're being denied access, and I was just inquiring as to maybe what the explanation is.
The explanation is that you're a stupid, egotistical, overgrown man-child who wants everything his way and wants it now. And when you don't get your way, suddenly you cry tyranny. You're arrogant about your so-called knowledge of the law, and yet you're completely ignorant of it. You try to elevate yourself by belittling others, all while living in a deluded fantasy that allows you to cope with your insecurities and your failures as a parent and as a human being. Did I get that right, Mr. Person? Or perhaps, maybe I'm just overthinking it. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like what you see here and you want me to see me look at even more stupid people in the future, feel free to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Till next time.